in holy ground here in the sanctuary, but all the world is holy ground. And it's a sentiment that we wish everyone would feel, and the world would be a better place. So this is called Holy Ground. I hope you'll join with us. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way. When you walk, where you stand, where you walk, when you pray. All of life is holy ground. Every he, every she, every one, every who. It's in her, it's in them. It's in me, it's in you, in the bitter, in the sweet, in the calm, in the storm. All of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground. You hurt, you heal, when you love, when you pray, when you hold it, when you keep, when you give it away. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day. All of life is holy ground. So walk as if it's holy ground. Breathe as if it's all around. Talk and make a holy sound. Take your shoes off, you're on holy ground. We are one journey, one story, one tapestry we weave. One people, one glory, one legacy we leave. To the top. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, everything, everyone, every place, every way. Where you walk, where you stand, where you love, where you pray. All of life is holy ground. All of life is holy ground. Thank you very much. Our next practice is next Tuesday.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. It means so much to me to see our whole community here. Thank you very much for being here. This is the point in our services. It's a very special point. It's called the turning off of cell phones. So please make sure your cell phones are off or at least set to vibrate so it doesn't disturb anybody. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Temple Shalom Emeth, and it's just overwhelming to look out over the sea of faces. I want you to know we have this problem every Shabbat. I will tell you that last week we had 4 people and we sat in a square. So it's either one way or the other, I guess, but it's really just, it means so much to us to have you present here with us on this occasion. And I would like to invite up Trina Portilla to say a few words of welcome.
Good evening. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm the pastor at the Presbyterian Church in Burlington, and I don't live in town, but I serve a church community here and wanted to be present here with you all tonight. We have gathered here as one community, as people from a variety of faith traditions, people who live in different towns, as people who believe in the sanctity of life, and in our common humanity. We gather here tonight in our shared deep grief at the deaths of 11 people who were murdered in their sacred house of worship last week at the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh. We gather together to say that we will not allow hatred and violence to have the last word, that we believe that love is stronger than hate. As we enter into this sacred space and this sacred time of worship, we come with many different emotions. And I want to lift that up and honor that we may be feeling a variety of things: grief, sadness, anger, pain, numbness even. So let us make space to hold all of those emotions with and for each other this night and in the weeks that follow. One of my favorite singers, Carrie Newcomer, she's a folk singer, and she has a beautiful song called "I Heard an Owl," which reminds us that hate is never right or God's will, and that we need to face these days with courage and with love. The closing verse of the song says, "Light every candle that you can, we need some light to see. And in these days of deepest loss, treat each other tenderly. And the arms of God will gather in each sparrow that falls, but makes no separation, just fiercely loves us all." Let us treat each other tenderly and remember God's fierce love for each and every one of us. Let us join our hearts in the spirit of prayer. Loving God, you are merciful and just. Your steadfast love is everlasting. In the depths of our pain and anger, we gather before you, O God, our rock and our refuge. You are the source of our comfort. You are the source of our hope. Merciful God, you know the depths of our suffering and the suffering of the Jewish community in Pittsburgh, as well as in our nation and around the world. We have only begun to mourn those we have lost. Uphold all those who love them, we pray. Faithful God, surround us with your everlasting arms. Hear our cries of despair, heed our calls for justice, and do not let us lose hope, for it is in you that we place our trust and our hope. Amen.
I would like to invite any children who are here from the temple to come on up and open the doors of the Ark and the Ark curtain. Our teenagers. We'll up the ante a little. Okay. Please rise. Please be seated.
Now we ask you to join with us again in another song. And this song we sing at every Shabbat service as we follow a tradition of personifying Shabbat as a bride. And we welcome the Shabbat bride into our sanctuary with the singing of the song L'cha Dodi, and it's on page 138. Contemporary version done by a group called Yom Hadash, New Day.
Now that we welcome the Shabbat bride of peace, which we so desperately need this Shabbat, we're going to continue by lighting the lights of Shabbat, which you may find on page 120. I'd like to invite Marcus Simon to come up and light the candles for us this evening, the vice chair of the Burlington School Committee, and member of our temple. More important.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
It's
We continue with the next section of our service called the Shema and its blessings, where we remember our faith, the tenets of our faith as Jews. It's on page 146. Please rise. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Page 154, we continue with the Via Hafta.
V'ahavta Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol mevodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha, b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha, b'derech, u'shachtacha, u'kumrecha, u'shartam le'od al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot ben einecha, u'chtavtam al mizuzot beitecha, u'visharecha, l'ma'an tizkeru, va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, V'yitem kedoshim Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Lihiyot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Please join me in English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments, and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emeth. Page 158. We continue with the singing of a song called Mi Chamocha, which the English translation is Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? It's a song that the Israelites sang when they crossed the Red Sea to freedom from Pharaoh's grip. Please join us.
Mi kamocha va'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar v'kodesh. Mi kamocha va'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar v'kodesh. Torah tehilot, osei elem. Torah tehilot, osei elem. Adonai imlok leolam va'ed. Adonai imlok leolam va'ed. Malchutecha ra'u v'neha, וכיין לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי אנו ויעמנו, זה אלי אנו ויעמנו. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Now we continue with another song, Ashkivenu, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, which is in your song sheets. Please join us in the
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom, Shalom. Ha'amidenu Shomrenu Lechaim. Ufros aleinu Sukat Shlomecha, Ufros aleinu Sukat Shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Amen. Amen.
And that concludes the second section of our service. The third section is called the tefillah, which is the Hebrew word meaning prayer. It's the time when we talk directly to God. So I invite us all to rise as we turn to page 166.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer, U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen, Abraham V'Ezrat Sarah,
168.
Atah Gibor V'Olam Adonai, Rak Moshiach, Mechakel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh Hakol B'Rachamim Rabim, Zomei Nofim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayeh Emunato, L'Shemei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Geburot, U'Midor Melach, Melech Me'mi, U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Ata V'Achayot Ha'akol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh Hakol.
170.
Ata Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kedoshim B'Kol Yom, Yehalenu U'Chaselah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Together in English.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy
top of page 173.
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace.
May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise.
Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Now we're going to continue with a special reading number 1. In your service pamphlets.
O God, you have called us to peace, for you are peace itself. May we have the vision to see that each of us, in some measure, can help realize these aims. Where there are ignorance and superstition, let there be enlightenment and knowledge. Where there are prejudice and hatred,
Let there be acceptance and love.
Where there are fear and suspicion,
Let there be confidence and trust.
where there are tyranny and oppression,
Let there be freedom and justice.
where there are poverty and disease,
Let there be prosperity and health.
where there are strife and discord,
Let there be harmony and peace.
Now we continue on page 178, our prayer books with the singing of Shalom Rav, which is a prayer for peace. Please join us if you can.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon L'Kol HaShalom. Ki Ata Hu Melech Adon L'Kol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. B'chol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We read together on the top of page 179. Grant us peace, your most precious gift,
O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart.
introduction to our Get Well Healing Prayer is not found in the
A heavy burden has fallen upon us, and sorrow has bowed our heads. And now we turn to you, the source of life, for comfort and help. Give us the eyes to see that pain is not your will, that somewhere there weeps with us one who feels our trouble and knows the suffering of our souls.
We continue with a special Misha Beirach, which means the one who blesses us, on page in our service pamphlets. Please sing the rest of
Misha Beirach Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Misha Beirach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Misha Beirach Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Misha Beirach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. Bless us with the vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Misha Beirach Avotenu, Misha Beirach Imotenu. Hear our prayer, 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 and bless us as well.
We pause for a moment of silent prayer and meditation.
And now please turn back in your prayer books to page 180. Join us in singing, "O say Shalom, grant us peace."
Oh, say shalom in Brahma, Hallelujah, say shalom, Aleinu, V'yakov, Yisrael, V'imru, Amen.
There are a number of people here who would like to speak for a couple of minutes and bring us greetings from different communities. And I would like to start with my brother, Mohammed Shahid, who is the president of the Islamic Center down the street.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful and beneficent. First of all, I thank everyone here for having us all. This is one of the saddest weeks of America. The act of horrific action in the house of worship. The attack at the Tree of Life synagogue is tragic. The management and the community of Islamic Center of Burlington is deeply saddened by the deadly attack at the Tree of Life synagogue. We condemn this horrific action and stand in solidarity with our Jewish brothers and sisters. We at the Islamic Center of Burlington offer our condolences, our prayers, and support to the family of the victims and to our Jewish brothers and sisters. It is the strength of Burlington and its vicinity that during such tragic incidents, whether it is vandalism of mosques or churches or synagogues or any house of worship, these communities in Burlington have always stood by and supported each other. Lastly, I pray that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives patience to the families of the victims, save us and protect all of us from any of such calamities, and guide us all on the right path. Amen. Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to call on Pandita Ranjani Saigal to say a few words. Yeah, of the Hindu community.
Om Namo Narayanaya. May the great Lord bless us all. At this moment of great tragedy, we must turn to the scriptures and the Hindu scriptures, the one where the Lord himself spoke on the battlefield when there was a lot of evil going on, says to Arjuna, the warrior, to remember, Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka. The immortal soul cannot be cut by any weapon, no matter how sharp. We are all in this body. The soul has manifested itself as an incarnation of love. When I read about the wonderful people who we remember today, we know that they understood that they were the incarnation of love, and they spread that message of love everywhere and encompassed those that needed it most into their hearts. As they left this world, they continued to make it a teaching moment for all of us to remember to come together in love. The love we feel here today is immense, and we know that love will always triumph hate. We know these wonderful souls that are so filled with love are in the company of the divine, enjoying the bliss that comes with those that spread love. At this moment, we pray to the great Lord to guide us. Using the words of the Vedas, I would like to say, Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, O Lord, lead us from untruth unto truth. Tamasorma Jyotirgamaya, from darkness. Please lead us onto light. Mrityorma amrutam gamaya, from the chaos of the transient. Please lead us into the peace and bliss of the permanent. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May there be peace everywhere. Mangalam Shubham, may all be auspicious. God bless all of us as we arise in love and live together in love. Mangalam Shubham.
I'd like to call on Reverend John Gibbons, First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church in Bedford City.
Anti-Semitism is not a problem. Anti-Semitism is not the problem. Anti-Semitism is not the only problem. Anti-Semitism is a symptom of a society's unwillingness to see its own ugliness and complicity, and in shameful desperation, anti-Semitism casts blame on you-know-who. Anti-Semitism is a hoary scapegoat, a narcotic that numbs demented minds to self-righteousness and not feeling bad about oneself. Evil is not within, anti-Semitism preaches. Anti-Semitism is a projection of evil onto you-know-who. So, of course, we must condemn the anti-Semitic acts of others. But as individuals and as a society, we must be willing to face and name and excise all our malignancies. Racism, classism, homo and transphobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia, fear itself, ableism, nationalism, and hubris. Polish poet Wisława Szymborska wrote this poem titled "In Praise of Feeling Bad About Yourself." The buzzard never says it is to blame. The panther wouldn't know what scruples mean. When the piranha strikes, it feels no shame. If snakes had hands, they'd claim their hands were clean. A jackal doesn't understand remorse. Lions and lice don't waver in their course. Why should they, when they know they're right? Though hearts of killer whales may weigh a ton, in every other way they're light. On this third planet of the sun, among the signs of bestiality, a clear conscience is number one. I speak in condemnation of anti-Semitism and in praise of feeling bad about ourselves. May none of our consciences be clear. With heavy hearts, we confess to complicity, if only to not doing enough. May this be our motivation to do good, to repair the world, and to repair ourselves. Shalom, salam, shanti, blessed be, and peace.
To call on Reverend Catherine Adams, First Congregational Church of Billerica.
Shalom Shabbat. I am the president of the Billerica Interfaith Association, and I speak on the people of Billerica, your neighbors, that we are heartbroken with you. Our sorrow is real. We feel the pain that you feel to have lost 11 wonderful people as they worshiped together. And so that has doubled our intention to work that much harder as an interfaith community to bring each other together, for it not to be uncommon to be found in each other's houses of worship, for us to be together in the community as we create communities that are filled with peace and justice. And so we are committed to being with you all, my brothers and my sisters, so that we might be able to help usher in peace. And you know that we will make the commitment to keep you safe and that we will be here whenever we are needed. And so from your neighbors, we say, bless you, keep you. May God's face shine upon you.
Calling Reverend Jamie Michaels of the Old Cincinnati Methodist Church, representing the Reading Clergy.
Good evening, Shabbat Shalom. I want to thank you for inviting us this evening, and thanks especially to all of you. I don't know if you know how important your friendship has been to us in Reading. You have lent us on occasion your rabbi as we have been dealing with horrific acts of anti-Semitism in our school system. And so I want to thank you for the way you have reached out a hand of friendship to us in Reading. Thank you for lending your rabbi to us and the assistance that she's provided us in dealing with those ongoing threats in our own community. Your community has been a friend to ours as we hope to be a friend to yours. It's a courageous thing to gather in hope in the midst of and in the face of hatred and violence, because hope asks us to be vulnerable, doesn't it? Hope expects a future towards which the path is not always clear. A few years ago, I had the great privilege to visit Jerusalem with an interfaith group, and we visited Jewish and Muslim and Christian holy sites, and we shared worship in one another's traditions, and we ate more delicious food than I could possibly have imagined. And I love you all, but I don't know how you all hid halva from me for so many years. I bear a little bit of bitterness about that. And as we each processed our own emotional and embodied experiences of that ancient city that was so dear to us from our own traditions, we talked, as inevitably happens, about the conflict and the violence that that city has seen. And so one night, frustrated and exhausted, I collapsed next to my friend Rabbi Paula, and I had a hot steaming cup of mint tea next to me that I almost spilled on her, and I said, "How long, O Lord? How long?" I was just lamenting. We hurt and we hurt and we hurt and we hurt one another, and my people keep hurting your people, and will we ever learn not to hurt each other? And Rabbi Paula started singing to me, in Hebrew that my experience here tonight has taught me I will not sing to you. And then she said that the English words of this song say, I will build this world from love, and you must build this world from love. And if we build this world from love, then God will build this world from love. What a treasured gift she gave to me that night, to be able to remember that you and I and all of us were made with the imprint of the holy and bear within us that divine power to build this world from love. Even especially amidst the grief and the horror and the dangers and the threats that we might feel, that we belong not to the fractious forces of fear, but to that tenuous, fragile, but fierce and powerful bond of love. And Rabbi Paula's song reminded me of that beautiful truth that God will build this world from love. But the responsibility does not belong to God alone, it belongs to all of us. And so tonight, I want to commit to you that I will build this world from love. I'm recommitting myself and my community this night to build this world from love, to teach our children and our adults in every place and every time that I can, to recommit our community to the work of peace, to be courageous about the ways that my people have been complicit in the violence and the silence around anti-Semitism. May our work together be our love made visible, and may our collective action and solidarity make us courageous together. Today, beloved, may God comfort your heart, and tomorrow, may we build this world from love together.
Last year I received the following letter. Dear Rabbi, I wanted to thank you for leading the monthly Shabbat service at Carlton Willard Village. My mother attends regularly and receives so much joy from participating. Please accept the enclosed check as a token of my gratitude. Sincerely, Jerry Rabinowitz. When I mentioned this to her mother Sally, to his mother Sally, she beamed and said, "Oh, he's such a good boy. That's just the type of person he is." Sally Rabinowitz has attended every Shabbat service I have conducted at Carlton Willard for years. She has a special role of being the one to light the Shabbat candles, to bring the light of Shabbat into our worship space. So it was with both tremendous sadness and irony that last Sunday I brought her a different type of candle, an 8-day candle to memorialize her beloved son. The tragedy which occurred at the Tree of Life Synagogue last Shabbat was very personal for me. Not only because I am a human being who finds murder repugnant, not only because I am an American, I ache from the horrifying number of cold-blooded cold-blooded killings in our country. Not only because I am a Jew who feels that every member of my people is like a member of my extended family. Not only because I saw reflected in the people who were killed in Pittsburgh the same spirited individuals who are active members of our congregation, but because last Sunday I spent an excruciating time with a 93-year-old mother who lost her beloved son because he was a Jew. And I later learned he was murdered not only because he was a Jew, but because he was the one to rush in to help the other victims, not knowing that the gunman was still there. We've been filled with so many raw emotions since last Shabbat. Anger, horror, fear, sadness, helplessness. I am still in disbelief about all that has happened this past week. Reverend John Gibbons called me during our High Baby Havdallah service last Saturday afternoon to tell me that there was a good chance that one of the victims was Sally's son. Beginning our adult education class on Monday, we rose to recite the Kaddish prayer for those who had died. On Tuesday, I heard the kids in my confirmation class tell me that they have grown up in a world where this sort of violence is such a common occurrence that this tragedy registers as one of many. Then listening to them compare what it is like to have Alice drills at each of their schools. Then one of them talking about how it feels to attend a school where swastikas have been appearing on a regular basis, along with notes like "Gas the Jews." Just today I learned that last night 3 synagogues were vandalized with anti-Semitic graffiti. What? How can this be happening in our country in the year 2018? I cannot seem to fathom that this sort of hatred and assault is happening to us. Not just us, the Jewish community, but us, people of faith, us, Americans. This week, Maurice Stollard and Vicki Jones, 2 African Americans, were also murdered at a Kroger grocery store in Kentucky because of the color of their skin when a gunman was thwarted from entering a nearby church. One lesson I learned this week is that there is no such thing as a tragedy happening to others. There are no others. There is only one big us. The outpouring of love and support this past week has buoyed my spirits and given me the hope that the amount of caring and goodwill in our community very far outweighs the hate. Monday night, Imam Shakil of the Islamic Center down the street presented us with this poster, which is adorning our bima this evening, which was signed by all the children of his school. On Tuesday, Reverend Angela Wells-Bean and Reverend Trina Portillo took time out of their busy schedules to spend hours with me helping to craft this service. During which time, a woman, I don't know if she's here this evening, suddenly appeared at the door of the temple and presented me with a bouquet of 11 white roses, which are also adorning our bima this evening. At the beginning of the week, Chief Kent told me that if we didn't want police cars in the parking lot because they might scare the children during religious school, he would come in plain clothes himself and sit in our front hall to make sure we were safe. Tonight is about mourning the dead, and it is about joining together to provide one another with comfort and support. My minister friends asked me what was the best thing they could do for our Jewish community at this difficult moment. My answer was to do exactly what you have done this evening. Being here to show your solidarity. There is no more powerful statement, and we are overwhelmed by your support. Thank you all for helping us reclaim our Jewish sanctuary as a refuge of peace, where people come together in love, in prayer, to reaffirm our values, to give us hope for the future. In the section of the Torah which Jews around the world read on this Shabbat, our matriarch Sarah dies, is buried, and is deeply mourned. Yet the Torah portion is called Chaye Sarah, which means the life of Sarah. Why is the section called the life of Sarah instead of the death of Sarah? To teach us that even though a body may die, the spirit lives on. The impact of Sarah's life on others, all the seeds she sowed in her family and her community, and her journey through life, live on and continue. 11 children of Sarah have joined our mother Sarah this week. 11 beautiful souls, each of whose goodness will live on as an inspiration for us all. We are here to continue their legacy, to stand up to hate, to bear witness to the fact that goodness will prevail. As the memory of Sarah still lives, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel lives. Our Jewish tree of life lives. Our values as a people and as a country live. Love lives. Friendship lives. Compassion lives. The values of our country live. The solidarity of our community lives. Thank you all for being here to demonstrate that this tragedy has strengthened our resolve to live out our faith, our principles, and our connection with one another. Amen. And now I would like to have us continue in our prayer books on page 586 as we continue with the Elena prayer, which is a prayer hoping that God will be present in our world and that peace will come to us sometime soon. I'd like to invite the Holmes girls to come out and open the Ark curtain. Please rise. Please be seated. Now we're going to continue with a song in your pamphlets called Bayom Hahu, which is a song for hope and peace of you.
Which I know you are experts in singing.
Though the time be far, I know that cometh will, when each nation shall each other
we go from that uplifting song of hope back to the introduction. Is this part of the service we always do for the Kaddish prayer, the prayer for those who have died, which is a prayer praising life. And the introduction to this prayer, where we're going to light candles for each of the deceased, we found on the back cover of your service candles, so like in white cash. This is Scott Arnold and Sharon Dickinson to join me.
We stand in grief for the devastated families in our nation. We weep over the incomprehensible loss of life.
We cry out with shock, confusion, and pain. We mourn together over the senseless act of violence and destruction.
Be with us, God, in this time of sorrow and fear. Help us, God, to offer comfort to those whose hearts are shattered. Rekindle hope and trust and courage within us and them.
Help us, God, to sustain our belief in the promise that even in the darkest times, even when we feel most discouraged, there is reason to trust that love is never extinguished and that light and spirit will prevail.
Help us, God, to rededicate ourselves to building a world that is safer for our children. Help us, God, to rededicate ourselves to building a world that is safer for all people.
During these difficult days and nights, God, bring comfort and peace and hope and light to broken hearts and a broken world.
Now I'd like to invite up the 11 members of our congregation, and Robin Frisch is the president of Temple Emmanuel of the Merrimack Valley, to each read a couple of sentences about each of the deceased.
Daniel Stein. Daniel Stein was the past president of one of the synagogues, one of the congregations that met at the Tree of Life Synagogue. He was a retiree, he was 71 years old, and according to his family, he had a dry sense of humor. And he's much missed by his family.
Jerry Rabinowitz. Jerry was a primary care physician who touched the lives of so many. His nephew said he was not in the basement where the congregation was gathered, but outside the room. Why? Because he heard shots and then ran outside to see if anyone was hurt and needed a doctor. He was killed for this act.
Joyce Feinberg, age 75, was a research scientist at the Learning, Research, and Development Center at the University of Pittsburgh, subsequently retired. Her research career spanned more than 25 years and focused on childhood development. Joyce graduate students at the university knew her well as a surrogate mother who would often welcome them into her home. After retirement, Joyce remained very active at the Tree of Life Synagogue. Joyce was predeceased by her husband in 2016 and leaves behind 2 sons as well as a number of grandchildren. Joyce will probably most be remembered as a cherished friend for her warm character and for her always wearing a smile. As stated by her brother, she was the most amazing and giving person.
Rose Mellinger was at services. She was sitting next to her daughter Andrea when she was shot and killed. Andrea was also shot, but she survived. Rose's family shared that at 97 years old, for her, age was just a number. They spoke of how she retained her sharp wit, her humor and intelligence until her very last day. Her family also said she loved us, and she knew us better than we knew ourselves. She was our bubby, and family was everything to her.
Sylvan Simon. Sylvan was an 86-year-old military veteran, a retired accountant, as well as a loving grandfather who let his granddaughter style his hair when she slept over at the home that he shared with his wife of 62 years, Bernice. Sylvan and Bernice started their lives together when they were married at the Tree of Life synagogue 62 years ago. They never missed the Shabbat service or the opportunity to help anyone in their loving Jewish community or in the neighborhood that they loved so much.
Bernice Simon. Bernice was an 84-year-old former nurse who loved filling her kitchen with many traditional Jewish foods to the delight of her family and friends. Bernice and Sylvan had a favorite song, La Dor Vador, which translates to from one generation to the next. It's easy to understand why this song focused on passing Jewish traditions, love and generosity would be a favorite of Bernice and Sylvan's. Our group responsibility will be to pass the same love, generosity, and devotion to Judaism to the next generation. By doing so, Bernice and Sylvan will live on.
Melvin Wax, known as Mel to everyone, the 87-year-old accountant was usually the first to arrive at Saturday morning services. His great passions were his grandson, his religion, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Even though he was 87, he would always park several streets away from the synagogue to leave the closer spaces for people that really needed them.
Cecil Rosenthal, age 59. He had a youthful exuberance. Cecil's laugh was infectious. Cantor Laura Berman said, Cecil was a beautiful man and a sweet, gentle soul. Cecil was commonly referred to as the honorary mayor of Squirrel Hill, their local Pittsburgh community. David Rosenthal, age 54, was Cecil's younger brother. He was more serious and spoke less. David was kind and had a gentle spirit. David worked at Goodwill Industries and was often recognized for his dedication.
The brothers were always together. Together, they looked out for each other. Most of all, they were kind, good people with a strong faith and respect for everyone. Both brothers were devoted and active members of the Tree of Life synagogue.
Irving Younger, age 69, was a sweet man with a shock of white hair who would do anything that needed to be done at the shul. He went every day. He was an usher at his synagogue, and he never missed a day. He ran a real estate business in Squirrel Hill for many years and was also a youth football and baseball coach.
Richard Gottfried, 65, of Ross Township, loving husband of Peg, caring dentist to his patients, is remembered as a person who gave of himself to make his community better. Richard and Peg met as dental students at the University of Pittsburgh and used their interfaith marriage together to help others, including volunteering at Catholic charities treating refugees and immigrants. When Peg was asked that weekend if there's anything that we could do for her, she responded, quote, according to the Pittsburgh Gazette, "Do not let his death be in vain. Drive out evil in your own life and help others to drive out in their life. The only way to combat evil is with love."
I chose these 11 people intentionally because they are the leaders of our community. We think, God forbid, it could have been us. So thank you very much for making that proceeds. We turn to page 599 in our prayer books. We think now of all of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season in years past, and those we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Recall those whose yard sites occurred this week: Sidney Cooperman, Harvey Finberg, Bill Smith, Myron Burlow, Elliot Atlas. At this time, if there are others you'd like us to keep in our hearts and our minds, we prepare to recite the Kaddish prayer for those who have died. You may say their names aloud as I look across the room. Zichronam Livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. We turn to page 598 as we rise to recite the Kaddish prayer. A prayer praising life for those who have died. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, Yamad v'yivrach Yerutei v'yamlid malchutei, v'chayei chod u'vyomei chod, u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'bizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtavach v'yitba'ar v'yitroham v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah v'rechu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushkachata v'nechamata da'amiran v'yama v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to our country, to all Israel and all the world, to which we say, Amen. Please be seated. I'd now like to call on our temple president, Shelley Rosenbaum Whitman, for a few quick announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you again to our extended community. Thank you to our own congregation. Thank you to everybody for being here. As I said earlier, it really fills my heart with hope to see everybody here. Thank you again. And while we're thanking people, thank you to Ken Lifton, who coordinated the many ushers and greeters. There were about 7 or 8 people who were helping out here. Thank you, Ken, and thank you to Marjorie Cooperman, who coordinated the people doing the oneg. Now, remember, we were talking about food and Jewish go together. So there is food afterwards. After the services are over, please join us in the social hall. We have a lot of food, and if it's one thing that Jews know how to do is have food. A lot of food. I'd like to ask everybody to please leave your prayer books on your seats. We will pick them up afterwards. I think that will be the easiest way to get you to the food. For our congregation, we have a bunch of things coming up in just the next week. We have Torah Food and Shmooze tomorrow at 10 a.m. We have religious school on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Religious school at 4 p.m., followed by confirmation at the Presbyterian Church? Yes. At the church next door, UCC church next door, at 6:30 p.m. Brotherhood has a meeting on Wednesday at 7 p.m. to prepare for their service, Shabbat service at the end of the month. Crystal Knox will be at the First Parish in Bedford on Thursday at 7 p.m. And I'd like to point out a special thing. You may have heard the term mitzvah, which means a good deed. What the Reform Judaism has come up with is for Tuesday, mitzvot. And please, everybody, please vote as if your life depended on it, because it does. Shabbat Shalom.
On behalf of the Burlington Interfaith Clergy Group and the Burlington Presbyterian Church, I would also like to invite all of you to join us for our Interfaith Thanksgiving service later this month on November 19th, and we will be hosting it at my congregation, so I hope that to see many of you there as well. It'll be it's 7 o'clock on Monday, November 19th.
And before I call on our state representative, Ken Gordon, for some final words, I just wanted to thank all of you, every single person who came tonight. I really thank you in my heart for being here to support us and make us up, lift us up, and make us feel so, just feel like there's so much goodness and love in this world, and it's thanks to every single person here. And I wanted to thank some people representing different faiths. I don't want to say special people, because every single person here is equally special. So Reverend Dr. Catherine Adams, First Congregational Church of Billerica; Cash Ahmed, representing the Muslim community; Reverend Scott Arnold from the Baptist Church in Bedford; Reverend John Castricum from the First Church, United Church of Christ in Bedford; Tracy Claudio, representing can't say all the. Come up in here and say it.
My name is Tracy Claudio. I'm the Reverend High Priestess at the Cabot Canton Hermetic Temple in Salem, Massachusetts.
Reverend Sharon Dickinson from the Spirit of Life, Minister Chase DiMaggio, Burlington Church of Christ, Pastor Jim and Debbie Ennis over there, Taher Esmail, who was the community liaison of the Dawoodi Bohra community of New England. Very good. Okay. Robin Frisch, who's the president of Temple Emmanuel of the Merrimack Valley, Reverend John Gibbons for First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church in Bedford, Bishop Jared Coyle, the Billerica Ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Jean Landers is a community liaison from First Parish Unitarian Universalist in Billerica, Reverend Jamie Michaels, Old South United Methodist Church in Reading, Reverend Frida Portillo from the Presbyterian Church in Burlington, Reverend Hank Hurst, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Reading, Pandita Ranjani Saigal, representing the Hindu community, Mohammed Shahid, president of the Islamic Center of Burlington, Reverend Lisa Stedman from the First Congregational Church in Reading, Reverend Carol Van Buskirk of the Old South United Methodist Church in Reading, Reverend Angela Wells Bean of the United Church of Christ Burlington, the church next door, Reverend Alex Libduck, chaplain at Carlton Willard Village, Rabbi Yaakov Reif, who's back there, Lady Chaplain Bill Houghton. I'd like to welcome our Middlesex DA Marion Ryan, who's joining us. So Burlington Superintendent Eric Conti, who's back there. Burlington Town Manager John Petrin, who's really back there. Burlington Police Chief Mike Kent. Again, I wanted to thank the police department for everything that they've done for us and over the years, particularly this past week, and I know we'll continue to do. Bedford Select Person Margaret Fleischman, who's back there somewhere. Bedford Police Detective Ray Martin. Billerica Police Chief Dan Rosa, who's way back there, Chief Kent. Bob Lerlasher, did I get that right? Reading Town Manager, and the members of the Bedford Embraces Diversity Committee. Thank you for being here. We're also my neighbors. And I apologize if I left anybody else's name I should have mentioned. So with that, I would like to invite our state representative, Ken Gordon, for some final words.
Rabbi Abramson, thank you. Members of the Interfaith clergy, we thank all of you who are gathered here for allowing me to share a few words with you tonight. And Shabbat Shalom. First, I join the chorus of voices here tonight and across Massachusetts and the nation who have offered their thoughts and prayers to the families of the 11 victims of the mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, and especially to Sally and Bill Rabinowitz of Bedford. We offer our thoughts and prayers as well to the two African Americans victims who were shot at a supermarket outside Louisville, Kentucky. Their killer first attempted to bring a gun into a predominantly black church, but was locked out because services ended 90 minutes earlier. Thoughts and prayers. I've offered them many times, and we've gathered for vigils and showings of solidarity often. Some would say, and I would say, too often. They are important. They're important to us. It's important that we're together, but there are too many. Just after I took office, we offered thoughts and prayers for the 27 children who were gunned down at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. That didn't stop another gunman from murdering 17 students at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, 6 years later. 3 years ago, we offered our thoughts and prayers to the victims of a mass shooting at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina, where 9 people were gunned down while praying, murdered because of the color of their skin. That didn't help the 11 worshipers at the Tree of Life congregation who were murdered because they were Jews. Friends, our thoughts and our prayers are important, but they're simply not enough. John F. Kennedy knew they weren't enough when he delivered his inauguration address. He said, quote, "With a good conscience, with a good conscience, our only sure reward, with history the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking his blessing and his help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own. Or as Ben Franklin said, God helps those who help themselves. On Tuesday, as you heard, you will have a chance to do more than offer your thoughts and prayers. You will be able to help yourselves because you will be able to vote. It is said that the thought is the father to the deed, but a thought without action is an orphan, and there are too many orphans in this world today. Many of you joined Rabbi Abramson and some of the other members of the Interfaith Council on Jericho walks, and I commend you. Those protests are worthwhile expressions, but now is the time for action. Now is the time for voting, because protesting without voting is like whistling in the wind. Many of us were offended that the Squirrel Hill shooter posted on social media about his desire to shoot Jews because he equated Jews with Hias, a group he believes is sympathetic to asylum seekers that he reads are objectionable. But being offended and not voting is not worth the paper that an unused ballot is printed on. Please honor the memory of Jerry Rabinowitz and the others. When he heard the shots ring out at his synagogue, as you heard, he was in a side room, safe from the bullet's path. He left that safety and rushed toward the bullets because, as a physician, he thought someone might need his help. You don't have to run toward bullets, as Jerry did, but you can walk toward the ballots on his behalf. And on behalf of all those silenced by senseless hate and violence, I ask you, please, to vote on Tuesday. Most of all, you can walk the walk for yourself, for your sense of dignity, and for your sense of shared humanity. Because then you will know that with a good conscience, your only sure reward, with history, the final judge of your deeds, you went forward to lead the land you love, asking his blessings and his help, but knowing that here on earth, you truly made God's work your own. If you voted early, I applaud you, and if not, it's up to you. Please help. Please vote on Tuesday. Thank you.
Now we're going to conclude our service with a song that's written on the back of your pamphlets. Let there be peace on earth. I'd like to invite all the clergy here to join me in the middle so that we can, as one united clergy, lead us all in a song for peace.
ones, you have heard so many beautiful words from those gathered here tonight that I don't have much to add. But as you leave from this place, please remember that each and every one of us is needed, and we were called for such a time as this. There is a reason you are here at this moment in history. So do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Go forth and be an active agent of change in our world, spreading peace and kindness, liberation and love wherever you are able. Seek out those opportunities. It matters not how young or how old you are. Nobody is off the hook, because each of you are blessed and you are called to be a blessing to others. Go in peace.
Shabbat shalom.